Chapter 56, Chapter 19. Inside the Red Tower, in a room that was used for the first test, prospective students take their exams seriously. The room felt very quiet and calm. Only the sound of scribbling on the exam paper could be heard there. Time passed slowly, and the 2 hours given to the exam finally ran out. "Time's up." Christoph's voice shouted throughout the room. He snapped his fingers again, and exam papers in front of the prospective students disappeared. "You will be given a 15-minute break. After that, we'll do the second test for the place. You can look in the manual book given during the registration. See you in the second exam room later." Christoph and Kalia then disappeared from the podium. 15 minutes is a short amount of time, so Zeal decided to stay in the room until break time was up. It wasn't only him who thought that way, even most of the prospective students stayed in that room. While waiting for the break time to end, Zeal felt a cold gaze from the table far beside him, because the room was quite spacious, and the number of the prospective students taking the current exam was approaching 3,000 people. The distance between Zeal and that person was quite far, and was also blocked by the other prospective students. Zeal knew who it was that kept staring at him. "She is Lilith. Looks like Bereth isn't with her. He may be in different test venues. Currently Lilith is wearing a closed dress, and her hair is tied in a ponytail. She also wears glasses, so her presence is not as conspicuous as before. It looks like she doesn't use magic to disguise because of the tower has magic that can defeat someone's disguises, but the magic itself doesn't apply to Zeal. He doesn't disguise himself, but makes a clone of his old self on his current self." Zeal silently ignored her and pretended not to notice. It didn't take long for Lilith to lose interest in Zeal and not see him again. Not long after 15 minutes was up, the manual book that was prospective students were carrying vibrated and emitted a beep sound. When they opened it, it listened the room that will be used for the second test. They immediately rushed to the room, while Zeal walked slowly following them from behind. Arriving in the room, they were immediately shown 2 large devices standing on the podium. The devices is about 3 meters high. There is a small pole beside it, and each device has a small screen floating above it. There are also Christoph and Kalia who are waiting. "Welcome, prospective students. We'll soon start the second exam. But before that, I will give you 1 minute to wait for all our prospective students who haven't arrived yet." As usual, the people who welcomed them were Christoph and Kalia. Just kept silent. 5 minutes went by very quickly. Then the door of the room closed by itself. Some prospective students were surprised to see it, as some prospective students breathed a sigh of relief because they could come on time. "Okay, let's start the second test. As you can see in front of you, there are 2 big devices. There are artifacts to measure your strength. The one on the right can measure the power of magic circles for a mage. The one on the left is for measuring the aura seal for a knight." Christoph walked while explaining the function of each measuring device. Then he began to continue his explanation. "You just need to bring out your full strength and touch the crystal, and the center of the measuring device. It will judge your strength by numbers. Christoph pointed to special crystal in the center of the measuring device. As he was explaining, a prospective student raised her hand. She is a beautiful girl with blood-red hair tied in a ponytail. That girl is Reina Rebelia, the princess of Rebelia Kingdom, even though she wasn't currently wearing her night outfit, but her body shape still looks sexy in her casual clothes. What's wrong, Princess Reina? Christopher knew who the prospective student that raised her hand is, but from the tone of his voice, he seems to treat her the same as other prospective students. Can I measure our strength in detail? Roughly speaking, when showing our magic circle or aura seal surface, a deep and significant voice came out from Princess Reina's mouth, who questioned the function of the measuring device. For that question, we'll show you how these measuring devices work. Teacher Kalia, please help. Christoph looks at Kalia, who has always been silent for the start. She just nodded slightly at Christoph's words, and immediately walked over the measuring device used for mages. Kalia then placed her palm on the crystal ball and unleashed her full power. The prospective students felt the pressure from Kalia's power. 7 magic circles emerged from her body, and the pull on the mana measuring device also spawned the same numbers of magic circles. Then the numbers appeared on a small screen on the device. 7,847. After the number appeared, Kalia immediately pulled her palm and walked back to her original place. The students were confused by the number. They couldn't tell whether it was big or small, because it was their first time seeing such a force measuring device. Christoph knew that the prospective students were thinking, so he began to explain it to them. He must already know that a person's strength is judged by how many magic circles there are for a mage and aura seals for a knight. In this device, each magic circle will be raised at 10,000. When your strength goes up by 1 level, it will be 20,000. The higher of the level of your power you have, the more difficult it will be to raise it to the next level. Christoph paused for a moment and looked at the prospective students, then continued his explanation. Because the higher one's level, the denser of the mana of the aura needed to create a magic circle or aura seal. So even though the magic value to reach the next level is the same 10,000, but the density of the magic aura will be difficult. So if you need 10,000 values to go up from the senior magic to magic master, the amount is different from the value of 10,000 to go from magic master to magic king. The value showed by Teacher Kalia shows she is a magic king and a close to level of a sage. Christoph stopped his explanation, and then in each student's manual book a number begins to appear, which is their number to go forward and measure their strength. At least you have to have a value of 30,000, or the equivalent of an intermediate mage or knight to pass this exam. Do you understand? He looked back at the prospective students in front of him, but they didn't say anything. Then you'll be proceeded according to the numbers in your manual book. With this, the second test begins. For number 1, please come forward. If you are the mage, chosen the right measuring device. If you are a knight, then choose the left. After giving his explanation, Christoph and Kalia sat in their chairs. Zeal didn't know how many entrance exam participants were in the room. When he looked at the manual book in his hand, the number is shown. There is number 788. Huh. Zeal sighed softly. He didn't know how long he had to wait for his turn. The second test has started. A boy with short red hair walked to the podium. He headed for the mage measuring device. The moment he put his hand on the crystal ball, a number appeared on the measuring device's screen. 40,100. Passed. Next, Christoph called the other participants while wearing it down on the magic tool in his hand. 35,224. 40,509. 42,200. 37,779. The test continued, and the number of the test takers had advanced about 500 people. The next examined was a beautiful girl with blood-red hair. This is Rayana Rebelia. She walked towards the podium with a dignity, even though she is wearing casual clothing now. Her curves are like an adult woman inviting lewd looks from the male participants. It was just that they didn't dare to approach her because she was a princess. She walked over the measuring device for the night. When she placed her hand on the crystal ball, the number that came out made almost all prospective students open their eyes wide open. 49,998. Wonderful, as expected of a Blood Knight princess. Christoph smiled broadly and nodded, seeing the result of the Princess Rihanna. Next, Christoph resumed the exam. 42,120. 34,987. Subsequent participants who tested their strength only got an average score of between 30,000 to 45,000. Zeal, who had also been summoned, set the result to 40,050, while Lilith, who was shortly after him, got 44,500. She also suppressed the result of her power measuring after seeing that Zeal's strength value only around 40,000. It seemed like Lilith had completely lost interest in Zeal. Time passed one by one. Prospective student takes turn measuring the power until finally the last participant, the Dana measuring signal in the end of the second test. With this, the second exam is over. Just like before, you will be given 15 minutes to rest, and the place for the third exam will be listed in your manual book. Then you can go now. Christoph and Kalia remained in the room. Looks like they'll take care of the power measuring before they leave. Zeal immediately walked out and leaving the other perspectives in the room and headed to the room where the first test was conducted. When he left the room, there was someone who kept staring at him. Not a gaze of hostility or malice, but more like a gaze of curiosity. The person who did this time wasn't Lilith, but one of the teachers in charge of supervising the exam in the room, Kalia Venetia.